right? So we got into switch. We did configure a switch, something, and we were able to test it, and that is a switch. But I never actually told you guys what that device is all about. Now, a switch is a network device, right? I think I mentioned it a couple of times, but a switch is a network device, and it falls at the layer two level of the OSI model. By this time, you should be able to know what the OSI model is. There's two types of them. There's a seven-layer model, and there's also what is known as a TCP/IP suite or model, right? Which has been compressed into about four or five different layers, something like that. So, so that's where a switch falls into. But also the switch can also be a layer three device. So it works in both ways. A router is a layer three device, but a switch could be a layer two device, and it can also be a layer three device. So I would say it's one of the smartest devices on the network. The switch. They're all very smart devices. I'm talking about switches, routers, firewalls, access points. They're all very servers. They're all smart network devices. But switch does a lot of work. A switch can do certain things that a router cannot do, but a router can also do things that a switch cannot do. Just depends on how expensive the router can be. So you can literally use a switch as a core router and not buy a router. But you cannot use a router as a switch because you cannot create VLANs in a router. A router is just a layer three device. You can't create VLANs on it unless you create something like sub interfaces, which is still not, you know. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that I'm trying to get you guys to understand the ins and out of a switch. So a switch has switch ports. Let me go into a diagram right here. Where is my diagram here? Let me look for my diagram. For example, this one. So I just search switch ports, switch port in the network. So as you can see this diagram right here, right? This is a switch. This is a switch, and this is what we do. We connect, the switch has ports. One, two, three, four, five, however number of ports that a switch has. What is the relationship between the switch and these ports? Before I go there, let me take a step backward. There's something known as a hub. Have you ever seen a hub? I'm pretty sure you have a hub. There's a little thing where you have to connect, you buy like you're trying to extend one port from your router and you connect one to the first port here, and those Netgear things, and then it automatically just creates network. And you can connect several ports, but it was just from one port that you connected to your router, to your modem, right? That's what a hub is. Now, what the hub does is when that internet comes into this port, that traffic gets blasted. I'm using the word blasted, but the actual word is called broadcast. It gets broadcasted on all these ports. It's kind of weird. It's a weird thing to do in networking. Think about it. You send something in here. Let's say traffic comes into this port and it's meant for this last port. But what the hub would do is it would spread that traffic over on every other port and say, who are you? I mean, are you the one this traffic is meant? So everybody knows about the information, even though they don't have to, right? Until the last guy who actually gets the information because the information is meant for them. It's kind of weird. That's what a port does. Now, a switch is a more advanced hub, right? Where what it does is it 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 kind of not do what a hub does, right? But it does it in a way. But it has advanced technology that we're going to talk about, right? It still does exactly the same thing. Like when you send a port, when traffic comes into port one and it's meant for port three or port four, it's still going to, broadcast it, broadcast it, broadcast it, broadcast it until it gets to the final port, right? That's what a switch does. That is why I think I have, let me see this one. The one that says something about a switch. Okay, this one. This is that. So I just Googled something, right? Switches are multi-port bridges and are used to break up collision domain. Now that's just a lot of gibberish, right? What does that mean? Like, okay, you see how they compare with hubs? Hubs are weaker than switches, as hubs pass all traffic to all the devices. Switches create broadcast domains due to the fact that all ports receive all broadcast transmission. So that's what I was just talking about, right? So broadcast, what is broadcast? No, like broadcast, when you send information from one location into many, let's say for example, I'm just see I have a bunch of people in the crowd, right? And I wanna talk to one person, okay? But I don't want to, I want to make it easy. I don't want to walk to that person and say, hey, can you tell me what time it is? I'm just gonna stand, take a microphone, little speaker and say, hey, what time it is, Mr. Tobacco? Okay, well, someone's gonna say, why are you screaming, Mr. Tobacco? You're supposed to just walk to Mr. Tobacco and say what time. That's what broadcast is. I just broadcasted the information for everybody to hear. The information was not meant for everybody. It was meant for Mr. Tobacco that I just broadcasted it to everybody. So that was broadcast. So what it does is it shares it just blasts information all across, right? And whoever the information is destined for just grabs it. That's what broadcast does. But that is a very dangerous thing because guess what? It creates what is known as collision domains, or I just call it broadcast domain. Make it easy. Broadcast domains. Let's switch here to this other search that I did. Now, a layer 2 LAN switches logically create broadcast domain based on the configuration of the switch. This was what switches do, right? They create that. This is doing the same thing that the hub does. Like they just broadcast everything. Oh, like broadcast. So that's the relationship between the switch and so the switch is there to just send the information from one port to the other. So the port is right there. It's a physical port, okay? And it just grabs traffic, and then traffic gets sent into the switch, and the switch just sends it back to wherever other port. Now, that is the relationship between port and switch. So it's a crazy relationship that they have. Now, let's go a little bit forward when we talk about how switches create broadcast domain. Again, we just explained that they create broadcast domain by just blasting the information all across the switch. They just take it from here and sending there, taking here and sending this again. That's what it is. But there's a solution for this. There's a solution for this. I'm gonna go back to my little search here. There's a thing this one. If you notice, do you see this part where it's highlighted? This part that is highlighted? It says VLANs and routers are used to break up broadcast domains. So what happens is when you create VLANs on a switch, the VLANs resolve that situation. So let's take an example. You have traffic coming from this port. I'm going to my diagram where I have my switch port. Where's my diagram with my switch port on it? This one. Let's say you send traffic here.